Welcome to the Reaching Your Full Potential Online Tech Summit, where we have top experts share secret tips to stand out from the crowd and how to use technology to be uber successful. My name is Shahid Juma, and today I have Julia Black. A little bit bio on Julia, and then I'll let her speak. She is the creator of the transformational educational framework called Lights On and founder of the online Lights On Academy. She runs a virtual creative learning center and online academy to help parents reclaim their children's right to learn in their own unique way so they're passionately engaged and excited about learning. She has a transformative framework called Lights On, which focuses on passion, mindset, and time as the three keys to successful learning. And with that, I'm honored to have her on here, and thank you again for joining.
Thank you.
So before we get into it, why don't you expand on what I gave you, what I described? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, well, you said it all there. I've got this framework that I've come to after probably about 12 years of trying to solve the problem, as it originally started for my own children around learning and how I could get their lights on, how I could keep them motivated whilst in the school system. Then I ended up having my own creative learning center for a while and sort of learned alongside thousands of children. And then I transitioned to going entirely online since probably we're in the third year, coming up to the end of the third year.
Right.
And now we work with families all around the world, to do that, to help them use our framework, Lights On, to get their children moving from being, education's fine to, oh my goodness, I really want to learn. So that's it really. Yeah, online now for 3 years and excited by the potential of what that means in terms of families that we can reach no matter where they are.
Right. No, that's really good. So you mentioned that you became online about 3 years ago, but can you tell me the journey that you kind of went towards online and kind of your growth, some of the struggles you faced, and also would you kind of foresee happening, especially in today's landscape where education has become online, and we don't know where that's going to take us to, because we just don't know where how long this pandemic is going to last. But where do you see yourself, and then kind of how your academy, and then in terms of the online aspect of it?
Yeah, so we went online because we actually ended up based on a school site with a physical center. And that's when I guess I saw the scale of the problem that I was here to try and solve.
Right.
And that I'd kind of found, how I could use my sort of skills and my sort of superpower. So we try and help children find that thing that they were born to do. And what I saw that year when we were based on a school site was just the level of disengagement. And I guess, had my lights went off, I realized, I thought this business model of having centers in schools, all around the world, that was the model I was kind of pursuing in my mind and in the vision, just wasn't going to work. And also I realized it was just going to be too expensive as a business model, and it was just going to scrape the surface. And actually, if we stayed in that way, we would have probably continued to contribute to putting a Band-Aid, over the sort of wound that needs to be kind of, to heal really, in terms of where our education system is. So my lights went off and I thought, that's it. The business has failed. I can't see a way forward. And then with all these things that happen, I just suddenly started thinking, so what am I going to do then if I close the business, the bricks and mortar business? And I just started thinking, I've got too much to share. I've got too much knowledge around education, how to get children going from really bored and switched off, and actually quite defiantly so, to re-engaging and finding their passion again for the thing that they were born to do. I can't just kind of keep that to myself. So what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. And that's really when I kind of, in that moment where I was just faced with, the business potentially failing and stopping, I kind of just thought, right, I need to share this. And that's really when I kind of discovered online and just thought, okay, I don't necessarily want to go speaking in, cities. I don't want to do the speaker circuit because I'm a mum, with 2 kids, right. And I don't want to be sort of on the road all the time. But going online was a way for me to reach, millions of people. Eventually, our goal is to reach 10 million families switch their lights on by 2025. So really that was the transition period where I realized, the bricks and mortar business is old school now for
Right.
solving this problem, and the sort of making the global impact. And went online, and I think we transitioned for a while, so I had the two, and it was like totally starting again, really. Just the whole grammar around running a business in person and online is really, really different. But I'm now, I guess, 3 years in, I've done all that heavy lifting of kind of, getting the procedures in place, learning how to market online, because it's a very different thing, obviously, marketing and selling online. I've kind of pushed through all my mindset, which was like, I've got to get out there. I've got to do my Facebook Lives. I've got to do webinars, facing what any online entrepreneur will face. Like, is anyone going to turn up? How do I find my ideal avatar? Who is my ideal avatar? So I've kind of done all of that. And then obviously, we're in the situation now where schools all around the world shut down. And I see this as an opportunity, an immense opportunity, not just for my business, but for the future of education, and actually for parents also to reassess and have those conversations with their children about what their future education looks like. And I'm really hoping that the future of online education doesn't fall into the same trap that we have offline, which is to just have this knowledge that children have to consume and then regurgitate either on an online app or, through exams. And I'm really hoping, and that's what I'm working towards, that we can create that we can almost replicate the real world entrepreneurial environment that is using technology in a really positive way to form communities, to collaborate, across boundaries, and just to be surrounded by people that you possibly would never meet if you weren't part of an online community. So that to me is where the potential of where we're heading, not only obviously for education, but I think the whole world now has shifted. It's no longer a niche thing. I think when I started, it was just like, what is it you do? And people just couldn't get their head around it.
Right. No, that's true. And that's amazing, because it's true. In fact, right now, there's so many things online, and in fact, we are using your system too as well. That's how we found you online. So it's great. It's amazing. And it's really great what you've done. And it definitely does give you a reassessment of what education is about, and kind of changes your perspective too as well, right? So, and the longer that you're in this period of lockdown and at home, it further enhances really makes you reevaluate. So no, definitely valid points.
And just the name of your summit being reaching your fullest potential, it's just like we have to start that with our children, and that's the beautiful thing, that actually we are lucky enough, certainly here in the UK and in Canada and countries all around the world, where we have actually said, right, a children's right to education is set in stone. And I would like to extend that to the children's right to learn in their own unique way. And I think once we get that legislative change or evolution, then yes, we can have this much more personalized kind of approach, which I think is reflected in what the real world needs.
Right. No, that's true. 100%. So, based on this, I'm the question I asked you is like, how do you handle adversity and doubt? Because what you're doing obviously is a little bit different than what, traditional learning or education would be considered, right? So how do you handle adversity and doubt, and how do you kind of like, take that as a focus to say, no, this is what I want to do, and grow it further?
Yeah, so I've always kind of grown up in a family that was quite maverick, and my father's message to me and his gift to me really was just never follow the crowd, right? Follow your passion, follow your heart, and don't be afraid to speak out. So that's kind of quite innate in me. But what going online has forced me to do is really push through the glass ceiling of my own mind. I'm quite brave, courageous. I don't mind failure. I'm very comfortable with failure, but I kind of realized there must be from a business perspective, what is it that is potentially kind of stopping us get out there, right? Because obviously I believe that 3 years in, the whole world should have changed, right? And so I actually went to the full extent of learning how to neurohack my own brain. and my own mind, because what I realized was there has to be something. It's not, I'd learned all the strategies, I'd learned all the tools, I'd got my kind of business coaches, you know, and all of that. And still there was something. And I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. It was that doubt, not doubt in my model, not doubt in my product, but doubt in myself. And I think, you know, once you start to understand, obviously from a learning perspective as well, how the brain operates, and that actually 80 to 90% of our thoughts are automated and in our subconscious, it was really about me finding that doubt. Where was that seed of doubt? And ultimately I found it, and it came down to me telling myself, you know, do I really have what it takes, you know, to do this, to disrupt education, to build this business that's going to impact millions of lives around the world? And so that's the extent I went to just go, right, how do I use this incredible thing that we've got, the brain, where the doubt sits in our subconscious, and how do I go in, hack it and rewire it so that I can live up to the vision that my business as a separate entity is now kind of calling me to do. Right. And the wonderful thing about that, as I learned to do that, of course, that gets incorporated into our product, and that's what we help families do, you know, so yeah.
No,
so
it's true. And I really like, it's funny, like, you know, I am asking you about adversity and doubt. And then when I'm looking at about yourself, and one of the things you say is like, you know, your biggest vision is to disrupt education. So that's itself in is, and kind of like tackling the doubt and right away, like tackling it right away, which is pretty good. So that's amazing. Yeah. So my next question for you is like, you know, basically what you're doing is obviously different and not what you kind of commonly see. How do you know that this is the right idea, and like this is what you want to take forward and help others too as well? How did you come up with that idea? I know you mentioned you did 3 years ago online, but obviously you've had this for much longer than that.
Yeah, really, it was by just getting started. And that I think is sort of the biggest advice I'd give anyone, is just get going. When I opened up my creative learning center, I'm not a teacher, I was a filmmaker. So I was just a parent trying to solve the problem, right? And I just found myself on this journey. And I remember kind of being told, because I was a governor at my children's school, you're not a teacher, Julia, you don't know how it is. And I got to the point where my daughter in particular was very unhappy in school. And I just knew, because I knew most of the children in this small rural school here in England, that a lot of the children were unhappy. And then, of course, they start doing the research, and it's like, oh, it's not just here in this little rural, it's millions of children are disengaging massively from education. So I think I just tapped into that boldness of, I'm here for a purpose. I'd always felt that from as young as I can remember, like sort of age 7 or 8 or 9. I knew I was here for a reason, and I was just trying to find it. So I kind of tapped into that boldness and thought, you know what, I'm not a teacher, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. I'm a natural born entrepreneur, and I am going to use it to show how we can do things differently. So I kind of just got started. And when I look back now, I mean, this is where the naivety of being an entrepreneur is really kind of, we can use to our favor, because I look back now and think, how was I so bold that I set up a center to other parents' children and, you know, said that I was going to change how education was done. And we actually started in a skittle alley of a pub, because I didn't have a location. Like a week before we were about to start, I didn't even have a location, but there was no doubt, coming back to that doubt, there was no doubt in my mind we were going to start.
Right.
So that was the first thing, just getting started. And then of course, children were coming, we started working with schools. So it was really, when I went online and got the framework, it was really as a result of, how do we scale this? How do we make this so that there are never any children, that impossible quest, right? Never any children who are bored and disengaged by learning. They're all living up to their truest potential, and they are all lights on. And that's really when I kind of analyzed what has worked in those transformations that we've got, what has worked in those children that we weren't able to take through to that, you know, to that situation of lights on. What was it that didn't allow it to work? Right. And then just really analyzing that. So I guess it was starting and then having evidence that, that having the evidence that this worked in enough cases for me to have the courage to kind of go, if I formalize it, if I look and analyze it, then we can replicate it. Right. So, and that's where the online is, just finding those first few families that trusted, that, you know, that we had something that could help them. And then we had the evidence, oh, not only me now as an educationist, but ordinary parents like your family can absolutely use these tools and techniques.
Absolutely. No, that's great. Great. So one question I have for you is, and I see that you mentioned you're a neuro coach, right? So for those who may not know, what is a neuro coach?
Yeah, so neurocoach, I'm a certified neurocoach, and I use that with my families, with those parents who are brave enough to come in and really look at what limiting beliefs are going on. But it's really a source-based kind of coaching model where we look and help the parents. And again, we're looking to also work with, the children and the teenagers, but we help you find the source of the limiting belief. So we all walk around because our brains are hardwired with a negativity bias. We will see fear and we will act in a certain way. As I say, I've got quite a strong threshold for fear. It's like, bring it on. I don't need the answers. I can walk into uncertainty. That's not a problem. But all of our brains will have a different way of reacting. So what we do really in the first 7 years of our life, we kind of programmed in to our belief system are the thoughts and the emotions together that become a belief. So that belief that I had, who am I? I don't have what it takes. Do I really have what it takes? I don't have what it takes. That constant loop. What happens when you've got that negative belief inside your subconscious is the evidence that you seek reflects that reality. Because I'm constantly walking around going I don't have what it takes to do it. It's like, okay, there were only this amount of people on my webinar. It didn't work. So you're kind of reinforcing the belief. So once you can kind of identify and isolate that, then you can kind of really expose it as a lie. Of course I have what it takes, right? Because I was born to do this. And actually the reason I'm an entrepreneur is because I will never quit. So as soon as I could claim that identity, that belief was now a lie. I exposed it and then just rewired it. So that's really what it is. Let's find those thoughts that are holding you back, which everybody will have, And then let's just really look at the emotions that are attached to it. Let's peel them apart and then choose what you want to believe. Choose what you have to believe in order to have success for your business. And then we rewire that in.
That's really good. So how do you, one of the questions you always get as an entrepreneur as someone who's, starting a business, trying to get new ideas and so forth. And, it's always a question that gets asked and as a leader, what's, simply being, how can you be a good leader, especially with your ideas that you have and you're leading what you're doing so far. So, I know it's an open-ended question, but how can you be a good leader?
Yeah, no, for me, it's quite a clear question, really. It's authenticity and it's really creating a culture. I'm really hot on a culture because obviously I've been looking at how do we create a culture of learning in the workplace and in schools or homes that fosters development and growth. And so that culture needs to embrace allowing people to get things wrong, okay? Because that's ultimately how we learn. Right. That is what Lights on Learning is. It's just like, right, you don't have the answers. You're going to be brave enough and resilient enough to try and find them. And along the way, you're going to get things wrong. You're going to fail. You're going to fall down. And so for me, if you can create that in culture where it's okay, and it's almost like a growth culture, I guess. It is okay to not have the answers. And it's okay to get things wrong. And that's just accepted. Then it's really empowering for the team and for any learner, because it's just like, I own this. So that for me, and just being authentic, obviously a massive part of what I love to do is just to find that thing that somebody's really good at. And so being less rigid about the roles and having a much more flexible, adaptable kind of structure within the organization, so that the roles and responsibilities can flex and bend over time according to where the business is.
Perfect. That's really good. So what is one tip that you can share today that we can implement today to have success, whether success online, just have success?
I think it is, let's look at it from a point of view of success online, online business. And I think really it is just taking action and getting the ball rolling and learning how to sell. I think for me, for a long time, I kept myself safe because of that doubt that I had in my mind that I can't really do this, right? By keeping myself busy behind the scenes. And I've actually got a youthpreneur program where I was like coaching young people to learn how to do business. And one of my most successful young students, what I loved about it when I met him is he was a natural born. He just like, yeah, just I'll go out there and just ask people if they want to buy my product. And I think it's that. It's just really
Right.
look at where those doubts are, be honest with yourself, and then just stop trying to be busy and just find those first few or those first million or however many, you know, what stage you are at your business, people who love what you've got,
Right.
offer it to them, invite them to buy it, and then form that relationship.
That's a great tip. Thank you. So how do people find you? And I know you mentioned that you have something for those who are watching. So how do people find you, get more information about you, and maybe you can talk about your offer as well?
Yeah, so I on the social media, my handle is at the Lights on Mum. So you can find me there on Instagram or Facebook page. My website is explorium.co.uk. And so, you know, that's probably the easiest place. Just go there, and I've got lots of free training that's kind of, you know, on my Facebook page. But one of the gifts that I wanted to give anyone who is watching this, who possibly, you know, who is a parent, is to kind of learn how to use those three keys: passion, mindset, and time, that we talked about, that are crucial for learning in your
Right.
educational career and success in the business world. And it's a 3-part series which kind of looks at the importance of using those keys and how to use it, and then what that learning can look like when you start to think differently, and more importantly, you start to think beyond the grades. Because, like it or not, and I think we've all just seen this, grades will become increasingly irrelevant or redundant, and we are
Right.
going to have to start showing, like, what do we have that is beyond the grades that just makes people want us on their team. So I've got that free video series which people have really got a lot of value from. So hopefully that will be helpful.
Perfect. Thank you. And for those who are watching, the link will be below the video and you can download that there. Thank you again so much. Is there anything you want to add before we finish?
No, I think just, you know, thank you. I'm loving, you know, what you're doing, and in terms of, you know, helping people who are learning online to just to have that success. So thank you for having me.
Perfect. Thank you again. And thank you for doing what you're doing. It's really great. I do hope people do check it out, and definitely check out. We'll put the link below, and thank you again.